Welcome to this webinar about our LanguageCert International IESOL online exams with live invigilation. The aim of this presentation is to share information with you, mainly about the technical aspects of the online format of our IESOL exams and what candidates may need to remember for their exam day. Here are the main points of this presentation. First of all, we'll refer to our International IESOL suite of exams and clarify which levels and types of exams, that's to say written and or spoken, can be taken online with live invigilation. Then we'll focus on what online exams with live invigilation are all about, and share useful information, such as what candidates need to bear in mind and do prior to taking their exam, and what they need to be aware of during their exam. We'll carry on with some more details related to all components of our IESOL online exams and illustrate them with some screenshots. Finally, we'll present a useful checklist of points to be considered before candidates register for their exam, and of course how you can contact us should you have any questions or need further clarifications. To start off with, let's look at LanguageCert IESOL exams, which are available online. Well, candidates who are at A2 level and above can take our IESOL online exams with live invigilation, and this goes for both the written and spoken exams. So, candidates aiming at language qualifications like Access, Achiever, Communicator, Expert, or Mastery can opt for this format of IESOL exams, whether written and or spoken. Let's have a look now at what online exams with live invigilation are all about. Well, these exams allow candidates to sit secure exams anytime and anywhere. There's no need for a proctor, or in other words, an invigilator, to be physically present, as the only thing candidates are required to do is to download a remote proctor, which is a highly sensitive online connectivity system that will observe, analyse and record their behaviour from the very first second to the very last second of their exam. Candidates should make sure they have a suitable device. They will need a laptop or a desktop PC, a broadband internet connection, a functional camera and a wired headset with a microphone. Candidates need to make sure they have this kind of equipment beforehand so as to ensure optimal performance on their exam day. Moving on, here are a few important features related to our LanguageCert online exams with live invigilation. This format can be taken anytime and is tailored to the candidate's schedule. In other words, it's the candidates themselves who decide when they will take their exam. In the morning, at noon, in the afternoon, or even in the evening. So we don't fix the date and time of the exam, it's the candidates who select them. Candidates can take their exam from the comfort of their home or office, and that means they won't have to travel to a distant test centre. It also means that no additional travel costs will be incurred. Registration for online exams is possible very close to the exam date, and actually as close as up to 4 hours before the exam. Keep in mind too that throughout the online exam there will be a proctor or invigilator that will be available for guidance if needed. As far as results are concerned, should candidates decide to take the online format of their exam, this translates into faster results. Results are available in up to 3 business days, and a certificate issued and received earlier, actually in up to 5 business days following their results. Finally, remember that LanguageCert online exams with live invigilation are an extra option of exam format for candidates, an additional option to the existing paper-based and computer-based formats of our LanguageCert IESOL exams. Here are some more features you might wish to learn and then clarify to your students. Regarding the content, timing and structure of any online IESOL exam, they are the same as if candidates take the paper-based version of the exam. The only difference is the exam delivery mode. Online exams with live invigilation lead to the same certificate as if candidates opt for the paper-based format of their exam. Online exams also lead to the same recognition. The candidate certificates are all Ofqual regulated and there is no expiry date on them. Now, a few reminders and clarifications for candidates taking the IESOL online exams with live invigilation. First of all, some general information about what they need to know and do prior to the exam, and then details about all components of their written and spoken exams. So, what candidates need to know and do prior to their online exam? Well, early enough before starting off, candidates need to have their photo ID available. By photo ID, we mean a valid government-issued identification document like their national ID card, their passport. Then they need a webcam, embedded or not. That is a camera on their laptop or an external camera connected to their computer. Candidates should be able to rotate their camera because the proctor, that's to say the invigilator, will ask them to show their room, show their clean desk, and so on before they start. Candidates have to make sure that no one enters their room throughout the exam session, and also ensure that there's no background noise in the room. For example, music, a radio or TV switched on. Some more clarifications for you now. Early enough, and once again prior to their exam, candidates should check there is adequate light in their room. Adequate light, but no direct light towards the web camera, or the proctor, the invigilator, will not be able to see them. The candidate's mobile phone might be necessary on their exam day, so they will be requested to have it next to them, just in case of technical issues. However, please note that their mobile phone should be set to silent and not be turned off. Candidates need to remember that all other electronic devices in their room, such as a second desktop PC or laptop, a recording device, a second monitor, an amplifier with its loudspeakers, and so on, should be switched off and placed beyond their reach. Please also remind candidates that items such as paper, books, dictionaries or notes are not allowed. Also, ensure they know that breaks are not allowed during the test either, so candidates need to bear that in mind too. And here's a last detail related to onboarding. Just before their online exam, onboarding will need to be done. Candidates will be asked to download their exam application. This will involve 4 distinct steps: installing the application, logging in, self-onboarding, and the proctor joining the session to share initial instructions. There will be a quick tutorial by the proctor, in other words, the invigilator, prior to the start of the exam about the various buttons to use during the exam. For example, about the copy, paste, next, previous buttons. All these technical details can be found in the support document entitled Candidate Guidelines Online Exams with Live Invigilation, which you will receive when you're registering your candidates. There are 2 versions of the document, one for Windows users and one for Mac users. We warmly encourage you to refer to this document as it will answer a lot of questions you may have about our IESOL online exams. Of course, on our website, you will also find a lot of useful information. The next slides will focus on the various components of the written exam. That's to say, listening, reading and writing, and then we'll focus on the spoken exam. Let's begin with listening, which is the first component of the written exam for all levels. Candidates are required to use a wired headset with a microphone. A wired headset with a microphone, not the kind of headset or earbuds they use when listening to their favourite music, by the way. Candidates will notice that they can adjust the volume of the recording should that be necessary. There is a volume control button that appears and remains on their screen throughout the listening exam. Instructions to all parts of the listening exam always appear at the top of the screen. Sometimes in the case of lengthy instructions, candidates may have to scroll the bar down to read the rest of the information required. Here are some more details related to the listening exam. When choosing an answer, for example, to a multiple choice question, the selected option becomes orange. Anything in orange indicates that the candidate has already answered the particular item or items. If candidates are not sure of their answers, they can change them after their initial selection. They can change their answers any number of times, and they simply need to click on the new answer. After the listening exam, a navigation bar appears on the screen and indicates what or how much remains to be done. It turns to orange every time a part has been completed. Here you can see a screenshot of what candidates may see on their screen during their listening exam. This example of a multiple choice task has been taken from an IESOL C1 level exam. On the left, you can see the task instructions, and on the right, you may notice that this candidate has already answered the first question, since the selected option, option B, has already turned to orange. And here's one more example, this time taken from a listening task requiring short answers. The candidate is asked to insert or type his or her short answers in the gaps provided. Okay, now let's look at the reading component. Well, once again, candidates need to remember that all instructions appear at the top of their screen. In the case of lengthy instructions, they might have to scroll the bar down to read the rest. There are two buttons or keys candidates may want to use. The previous button that will take them to the previous page, and the next button that will take them to the next page. Most probably, this is nothing new for candidates who often surf the web. For them to bear in mind too, the navigation bar can be used to move from one part of the exam to the next, or to the previous one. This may be the case, for example, when they've just remembered the meaning of a key word in a previous section and wish to check their response in that section. A useful feature of the online exam is the flag provided. The flag is a visual reminder that they can place next to a section, paragraph, and so on, which they intend to look at later again. Possibly because they don't understand the meaning of a sentence in that section or cannot answer a related question. The flag turns to black when selected. To remove the flag from their screen, they can click on it again. Lastly, should they fail to indicate an answer by mistake, a reminder will pop up on the screen reminding them that they have not answered all questions. Here's a screenshot from one of the reading tasks. On the left, you can see the related instructions, and on the right, you can see that the candidate has already answered the first question, as the selected option, option A, has already turned to orange. And here's one more screenshot related to another part of the reading exam where candidates are required to provide short answers to open-ended questions. Candidates need to insert, type their answers in the gaps provided. Having referred to the listening and reading components, let's now consider the writing components. Well, as regards their writing tasks, candidates once again find the instructions or rubrics at the top of their screen. In the case of lengthy instructions, they may need to scroll the bar down to read the rest of the information provided. Candidates mustn't forget that they are required to do two mandatory writing tasks. Candidates need to also keep in mind that there's no need for blank paper. While writing their response on their computer, they can use buttons such as cut, copy, paste, undo, and redo. Therefore, there's no need to use any paper to write notes on. For both writing task, there will be a word counter on their screen, which will inform them about how many words they've written. Consequently, candidates do not need to count and indicate how many words they've used to complete each writing task. A timer on the candidate's screen will remind them how much time is left to complete the exam. And if they wish, they can hide or unhide the timer by clicking on it. Before candidates complete their exam, there will be two alerts, 15 minutes and 5 minutes before the end of the exam session. Lastly, if necessary, candidates may go back to a previous section, for example, to the reading section, if they wish to check the answers they've provided there. Here are two screenshots of a writing exam. The writing task rubrics are at the top of each task, and candidates are required to write their response in the blank space provided. This concludes the information related to the IESOL online written exam. Now, let's carry on with useful information for candidates about to take their spoken exam. All right, so how are things as far as the IESOL online spoken exam is concerned? Well, first of all, for all parts of the spoken exam, candidates will need a wired headset with a microphone. As mentioned earlier, they will be required to use this particular type of headset, not the one they may be used to listening to their favourite music with. They will also be required to have a webcam, embedded or external. Once again, prior to their spoken exam, candidates will be asked to show their room, their desk, and so on. So they should be able to rotate their camera. Although it's the interlocutor who on that day is responsible for conducting the whole spoken exam, candidates should listen to the instructions carefully and feel free to ask him or her to repeat any question or ask for clarifications. Candidates need to be informed that they will not be penalised for doing that. Remember that for part 3 of the spoken exam, candidates will be presented with visual prompts and the prompts will appear on their screen. They will, of course, need to exploit these prompts for the purposes of the task, for example, so as to reach an agreement or make a plan or arrangements. Regarding the 4th part of the spoken exam, during which note-taking is allowed, candidates can use blank paper, but only for part 4 of the spoken exam and not for any other part of the spoken exam. Last but not least, throughout their spoken exam, candidates will need to speak clearly and audibly, or else, well, the assessor will not be able to evaluate their performance. There's probably one last detail left to be clarified: how candidates end the written or the spoken exam. So let's see. When candidates have completed their written exam, they simply click on End Exam, which they will find at the end of their exam under the last task they've responded to. Then they will have to confirm they do want to end the exam and close Exam Shield, which is the exam application. As regards the spoken exam, things are very similar. Simply close Exam Shield, the exam application. And this concludes the main features and examples we wanted to share with you regarding our IESOL written and spoken exams. Now, we will share with you a useful checklist of points to be borne in mind before candidates register for their online exam. This checklist summarises the most important points. First of all, does the candidate feel confident and comfortable to take the online exam with live invigilation? In other words, does the candidate possess the necessary computer or keyboarding skills? Then, does the candidate have the devices that will ensure optimal performance on their exam day, such as a laptop or desktop PC, a wired headset with a microphone, an embedded or external webcam, a mouse, and a broadband internet connection? Has the candidate found a quiet room without distractions where they will be taking the exam? So that's to say a room without any music in the background, without any radio or TV switched on, and so on. Has the candidate received and read a copy of the candidate guidelines, online exam with live invigilation, and are all the main points in this guide clear? For example, does the candidate know how to navigate among questions, flag a question, or zoom in and out of the test environment, or refresh and log in again? Communicate with the proctor through chat, or close the exam application? Has the candidate been informed that onboarding is necessary prior to the exam, and onboarding needs to take place prior to the actual exam and some specific steps are required? Finally, has the candidate been informed that there will be a quick tutorial by the proctor about the various buttons to be used during the exam? For example, buttons like the copy, paste, next, or previous prior to the exam, and that the proctor will be at their disposal throughout the session for guidance or clarifications if necessary. If you've ticked all 6 points we just referred to, then your students are most probably ready to take the online format of our LanguageCert IESOL exams. Just a last reminder, when you register your students, don't forget to have a close look at the candidate guidelines, online exams with live invigilation handbook that you will receive, as it will answer a lot of questions you may have about this format of our IESOL exams. You may wish to explain, paraphrase, discuss its contents with your students beforehand so that they feel even more comfortable and confident on their exam day. Remember, there are 2 versions of this support document, a Windows version and a Mac version. And for any academic questions you may have, you can contact us at the following email address, academicsupport@languagecert.org. Thank you for your attention today, and good luck to your students when the time comes. Goodbye for now.